particularly when there aren't new regulations in place. And so your digital assets could accidentally be caught by an old law that was never written to take into account that level of innovation. So that's where it's really important, I think, to get good advisors who can help you navigate those choppy waters, so you're not making mistakes from the outset with your protocol, your project, whatever it may be that you're setting up.
Polkadot Insider is honored to have Chrissy Hill. She is the Chief Legal Officer and the Chief Operating Officer at Parity.
Hello.
Hello, so nice to meet you. Thank you for your time.
Lovely to be here with you, and I'm honored to be a part of Polkadot Insider and have this conversation with you today. I think it's going to be a lot of fun.
I heard that you just had a really long flight.
I did.
So
Yes.
thank you so much for coming here.
Oh, no problem. I'm going on about an hour and a half sleep right now. So
Not that good though.
well, yeah, and I'm looking forward to having a little bit of a rest later. But I didn't want to miss any of Decoded Asia, and I didn't want to miss this opportunity to chat with you. So happy to stay awake and power through.
You look still full with energy, you know?
Oh, well,
Yeah.
thank you.
But I'm asking, how long for the flight though?
Yeah, it's 13 hours.
Jeez.
Yes,
You
it
need some
was.
rest after this. Yeah, yeah. But still, you look great. You look
Thank
great
you.
right now.
Thank you. I wanted to bring good, positive energy for such an important event. So,
Love it, love it. So we are in the middle of Decoded.
yes.
How do you feel? How do you feel?
Feel excited. I gave the first speech today, and kind of like the opening act, the warm up, and we were talking about decentralization, what that means, because it can mean lots of different things to different people. And I was trying to provide a framework for everyone to
Like narrow
define
down.
it,
Yeah.
yes, and narrow it down and what it means to them, whether they're a dev or whether they're in marketing or whether they're in legal. So that was the start of my day today.
I see. You were mentioning like decentralized got all over the place for people, right?
Yes.
But why is that? Why like people they misunderstanding decentralizations?
Yes, so I think with decentralization, you can look at different factors, right? And there's probably 5 main factors that go into whether or not a protocol is decentralized or not. So the first one is related to computation. So it's like, how many nodes are there? Or is it just 1 or 2, or is it thousands of permissionless nodes that are all over the world? And then another area of decentralization is related to governance. So how do people vote on getting things done in a community? And then another is related to development, like how complete is your protocol? And then the other 2 are about value, related to intellectual property rights. Who owns them? Does the company own them, or does the DAO own them? And then finally, it's like adoption. How widely adopted is your protocol? Is it just early users and insiders, or is it more of mass adoption? So if you look at those factors of computation, development, governance, value, and usage, then you start to get a picture of the spectrum of decentralization. So some protocols are centralized still, and some are further along that decentralized journey.
So
And
like
that's
a
what
mix, you mean?
Yeah, it's a mix. And it can be very much, it can mean different things to different protocols even, right? In terms of what they want to achieve and what the founders want to achieve. So, and from my perspective, with my chief legal officer hat on, the path that you have traveled on that decentralization journey is important for regulators, because it, especially like the US regulators or the European regulators, because the more decentralized you are, more preferable it is in many regulators' eyes, because it's not centrally controlled by just 1 or 2 people. So
You
yeah.
made it, so interesting,
Oh, well,
actually.
thank you.
Because I mean, for any newcomer, for even me, right? I need to look up like what's decentralized means.
Exactly.
Stuff. I haven't touched to like all the aspects like that, like the
Yep.
way you convey to me.
Well,
So yeah, I think I kind of like get the whole thing now.
Well, good. Well, I always listen. I feel like if
Without the whole speech, but
yes.
then it actually makes sense.
Well, good. That's what I'm always trying to do. I'm from the southern United States and I've lived in London for the past 22 years, but I always am trying to put technical concepts into terms that I can understand or that I can explain to other people who are like me. I'm not technical by my background at all. And so I feel like if I can understand it and put it into everyday terms that resonate with me, then hopefully I can bring more people to embrace what we do, which is ultimately, something that is for a digital economy that's going to benefit all and give us, rights over our data in ways that kind of been taken away in the past. So that's part of what I hope to do is translate on both sides.
Sure.
Yeah.
Oh my God. I think that I not only understand it, but I also see like the charm. The charm of not like being in the industry at the very first place,
Yes.
and then you were like you were doing something else, right?
I was.
Before Web3,
I
right?
was.
I'm gonna touch on that
Okay.
right away, but then I just want to say that I see the charm there, so that even for me, I want to learn from someone that actually understand that newcomers, they don't get it the way that
Absolutely.
all the devs or all the people that are already in Web3 already, they understand it from before.
Absolutely. And it can be very intimidating.
It
And it can be
is.
very opaque.
It
And
is.
for an industry that focuses on inclusivity, actually by the jargon we use and by assuming
The jargon.
knowledge, sometimes it makes it exclusive, which is nobody's intention, but I think also technology can be intimidating anyways. And so that combination of things being a bit opaque and then a little bit intimidating, it means that the conversation can be closed off. And I want to be as open as possible so we can bring as many people into the Web3 world as we can because adoption is important.
That's the mission, right?
It's the mission.
That's our mission. Like
Exactly.
if you have really nice technology, really good one, but then no adoptions. Yep. That's the
Yep.
That's the point.
Yep.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So who was Chrissy before Web3?
That's a
I am
great question.
curious.
Well, I think the golden thread throughout my career has always been that I'm looking for the frontier of law and regulation. And I basically have worked for 4 great British names. So I started off my career at Linklaters and then went to Barclays. And then I worked for Tony Blair, the former UK Prime Minister, and now Dr. Gavin Wood as part of Polkadot.
Sounds like a big 4.
Yeah, it is like a
Yeah.
big boy.
Did anyone told you that before?
No,
Sounds
you're
like
the
a big
first
4.
one. I might steal that. I might steal that. But yeah, so when I left Linklaters private practice in 2006 to join Barclays, it was Barclays Capital.
Yeah.
I joined compliance, and this was pre-financial, the financial crisis,
Okay.
2008. And after that, after the financial crisis, compliance became a much different job. And I was definitely at the forefront of that compliance evolution or revolution, whatever you want to call it.
The
And
pioneer.
pioneering, exactly. And then in 2013, when I went to work for Mr. Blair, he had just left office in the UK, and it was the first time a UK Prime Minister had entered into both the charity space and the consulting space as he did. So again, navigating new areas and trying to figure out, how he can operate in the right way in that environment. And then, of course, it was time after almost a decade for me to move on from Mr. Blair's. And I heard about this Web3, and the laws weren't even written yet. And I was like, that's the place for me.
Oh, I see. So
Yeah.
because it was quite fractured in the regulations, so that's why you want to get in.
Exactly. And that's what made it interesting to me because it wasn't set in stone. It was something new, something that was being built, something that was in its infancy. And I had an opportunity to make my mark and help something new really take shape.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So I don't say that there's like 2 type of people in the world, but there'd be like different type of people, right? So you're the one to go as bold as you can.
Yes. I remember there was a gentleman within Parity who used to say, if you are in Web3, you're an explorer and you want to explore this new frontier. And I've always loved that description, to say that we're all explorers and we're on this journey to try to find, create, and really embed something new. And I love that spirit of adventure.
Great. I mean, even though that I don't get anyone to tell me that, but I mean, I get that spirit because
Yeah.
that's why I'm also in Web3 right now.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. You can feel it.
It's a new world, you know.
It is.
It's a world that we can actually discover more, extend it more.
Absolutely. And I'm a mother. I have a 13-year-old and an 8-year-old, two
Oh,
girls.
wow.
And I think it's their future too, right? I'm contributing to their future and building it in a positive way. So I want to make that investment not just for now, but also for them.
Wow. So you're the CLO and you're the COO and you're the mother of two
Of
daughters, right?
two,
Of
two
daughters.
girls, two
That's so
redheaded
nice.
little girls.
Wow.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
busy. It's busy.
You're the woman.
No.
You're the woman of
No.
Web3, like the role model here. I'm
Oh, well,
saying it.
thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. We all do our best, right? And I definitely knew that there weren't a lot of women in Web3, especially 2 years ago. And I think everybody has talents and expertise, and we all bring something different to the table. And I think what has made me very happy is in the last 2.5 years, more and more diversity of thought has come into Polkadot and also Web3 generally. And I think diversity of thought makes everything better. It causes innovation to flourish in a new way that can only benefit everyone.
Definitely.
So I'm very much a proponent of that. And I like to bring a different point of view.
For sure, for sure. I mean, for me, just personally, I think Web3 it's great with its potential.
Absolutely.
It needs a little bit of the soft sides of women. So that's
I
why
agree.
we are here.
Exactly. I agree.
So let's go back to being the CLO.
Mm-hmm.
So according to you, how do you view the regulation globally right now for
Right.
blockchain? How do you view that?
Well, I feel like I have whiplash over the last 2 years because there's just been so much change across the globe. And there's definitely, again, a spectrum of regulation. So you will have advanced regulation like in Europe, maybe Japan, where the laws are clear and they've become
Clear?
clearer.
Clearer, yeah. I mean,
That's a
it's
good.
it's still a process.
It's
but
still a
yeah,
process.
I get it. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. That is exactly right. Clearer. Then you have places like, for instance, the UK, where it's still under discussion, or like maybe Dubai or Thailand, for instance, where businesses are being attracted to those jurisdictions. And there's a real effort to attract, but again, regulation is still in process. And then you have places like the US where,
The big country.
yeah, big country.
But diversity, right?
Yes, lots
Of
of
law.
diversity, and the states are doing something different, and the
Yeah,
federal
each
government still
state.
needs to do something, and the courts are doing something, so it can feel like very shaky ground. And I think the jurisdictions that give certainty to founders, that give certainty in this area, will benefit because businesses need a business plan and a budget. And you can't budget for legal and compliance costs very well if you don't know what the regulations are. So those jurisdictions that focus on providing that certainty will attract the innovation, and they will ultimately benefit the most, I think.
Can you give me like an examples of good regulations from a nations that you might think of?
Well, I think the nations that allow, for instance, income tax to be paid in digital assets, I think that's positive. Brazil is an example. I think
Sure.
those jurisdictions which give certainty regarding tax treatment, even if the tax treatment is high. I mean, India is an example, 30% tax. But at least you know what the tax
At least
is.
we-
You can build it into your business plan. That's clear. Yeah. I think also MiCA in the EU is
MiCA.
providing more clarity. Of course, it's just coming into effect this year, and then the member states will enact the legislation, which could be more conservative. So we're still seeing how it's going into effect. But again, it gives you a direction of travel, an idea that the jurisdiction is friendly to the industry. So those are, I think, positive examples that popped to my mind initially.
Yeah, you were saying the jurisdiction should be friendly, right? And
Exactly.
then it'll be better for people like you and us, like
Exactly.
to explain to them, right? Do you find difficulties in explaining, yeah,
Yes.
for all the laws out there?
Yes, it's hard. And, lawyers, people always say, when you ask a lawyer a question, they say, it depends, right? They don't give a clear answer. And some people can get really annoyed with that.
Yeah.
And I think, especially in this world that we're in, the Web3 world, it really does depend on which jurisdiction you're in. Are you thinking about real world assets, or are you thinking about NFTs, or what are you looking at in terms of the use case? And that hugely impacts what regulation might apply, particularly when there aren't new regulations in place. And so your digital assets could accidentally be caught by an old law that was never written to take into account that level of innovation. So that's where it's really important, I think, to get good advisors who can help you navigate those choppy waters, so you're not making mistakes from the outset with your protocol, your project, whatever it may be that you're setting up.
Sure. People say that, even me, I see that creativities, breakthroughs, they not always comes with regulations.
Yes.
So do you think that innovations and regulations can actually coexist? Definitely, for sure. No, particularly in Web3.
I think so.
Yeah.
I do think so. I think
In harmony? I'm making it hard for you.
No, I know. I love it. It's great.
Yeah.
I think innovation will always be ahead of regulation. And I think that's natural.
It's good that you state that way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that's actually desirable. And I think good regulation can promote innovation. In my view, what I would say would be bad regulation would just be stopping any kind of experimentation whatsoever, or saying, everything that you do in this space is going to be taxed at 50%, or, you're never going to be able to recognize staking rewards in, a positive way for your business because we don't like staking, for instance, or making calls about, I think, registration of companies and requiring it in all cases and not allowing any exemptions from registration for certain products. Just being too conservative will stifle. But good regulation that has a risk management element about it, with regulators who understand and aren't scared by the technology, that can actually foster innovation. And I think that's what we should be aiming for.
With I don't know if I can say discipline, like
Yes.
with good guidance, I guess.
I
Yeah.
think so, and a code of conduct by
Yeah.
the people who are actually innovating, right?
Mhm.
Because I think if you know that you're entrusting a group with coming up with the next big thing, the next thing that's going to change society, and you feel confident that that group has similar values to you, that is being careful, being mindful, being ethical, then I think regulators are much more inclined to allow that innovation and not be too conservative. Where they feel like the group of innovators is untrustworthy, then it changes the complexion of the dialogue, which might not be positive.
Makes sense.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
I
yeah.
mean, a world need police, right?
Need police and need trust. You need a community you can
need
trust.
safety, as well.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because you can't monitor everything all the
Definitely,
time, right?
definitely.
And again, I think that would be an example of bad regulation to think you can monitor everything all the time.
But that can be quite sensitive, and then it can, there's like a line there, and you
Yes.
can just cross it, right?
Absolutely.
And there'd be like, I mean, I see Polkadot doing really well, handling really well with, for example, the SEC.
Yes.
Yeah, for
Yeah.
classifying token as securities, for examples. So, how did you and the team actually, what did you do to actually, what are the key factors to resolving cases like that? Because I know that there'd be like same cases with different ecosystem.
Yeah.
They do different stuff.
They do.
And then you guys are actually doing really well with handling that.
Well, thank you. And I cannot take credit for that work. It started 5 years ago. Before I joined, I've been around for almost 3 years now. So there was this fantastic team that was mostly based at the Web3 Foundation and outside advisors, Linklaters being one of them, Signum Growth being another, who engaged in over 50 meetings with the SEC over the years in order to educate the SEC about what Polkadot was and how it was different, because the SEC said, please come in and talk to us. And so we did. We engaged.
So they were quite open for that,
Yeah,
right?
very, very open. They were very open. And I think talking about DOT, how it can be viewed as a utility token, so for security and governance and also for staking, then you begin to build a picture of what Polkadot is. And really, they did such a great job to focus on the technology and not just the token, which is an important concept. Also, to focus on the fact that we're very decentralized as a protocol, and to bring regulators, and not just the SEC, but other regulators, into the dialogue so they could understand what we were trying to achieve. And I have come into my job and, where appropriate, just carried on that very good work, and I maybe put my spin on how to engage with regulators and other lawmakers and make it even more accessible.
Apart from not only regulator, but there'd be, there's social media side.
Yes.
Right? So do you give your hands on it, and then there'd be like some key factors that you can share with us, like how did you guys do with the ecosystem, not doing this, not doing that, or different key
Yes.
factors.
Yeah, so one of the key messages about any comms around Polkadot is talk about the technology. That
That's
is
the
what
core.
that's
the
the core. That's the core. Of course, the token is important. And we've said that the token has morphed into software, but really it's the technology to focus on, because that is what we build, and that's what Polkadot and Parity are known for. So majoring on technology and making sure that any comms reflect that, I think, has been a really important guiding principle for the ecosystem. And it means that, sometimes we get criticism about not talking about dot so much.
I think a lot.
Yeah, but there is a reason. There
Yeah.
is a reason for
Totally.
that, and I think it's served us well so far.
I think it's also because you guys are heading towards a directions of being sustainable.
Yes, longevity.
I
It's
can see.
really important. I think that's, again, another difference, which is this is a marathon. It's not a sprint, right? So if you want to be around for a long time, you need to make investments and behavioral, changes, basically, so that you are able to sustain that pace, that marathon pace, rather than just a 100-meter sprint, for instance.
And be consistent.
And be
with
consistent.
with your
Absolutely.
plans, right? I
Exactly.
think that's what a lot of people like out there, they haven't seen it in Polkadot, so that's why there'd be like different criticism. But then the people, like, for Polkadot lovers, they actually see it.
Yes.
Yeah, and then we united as a community.
Exactly.
Yeah, and
Which is really
it's
important.
getting bigger and bigger.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we have a common goal.
we have a core. Yeah,
Yes, we do.
and it's sustainable. I think it's really truly sustainable.
Well,
Yeah.
I love your vision of it. I definitely agree.
I really want to hear your speech, actually.
Well, I'm happy to share my presentation with you.
I
And
do all the research. I do all of my research, actually. Yeah,
excellent.
I saw a lot of, I watch your interviews
Oh,
with
thank
others
you.
as well. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I don't watch mine after they.
Oh, you
after
got
I
that,
do
right?
them,
Because
yeah.
I also sometimes I'm scared of watching back what I'm doing.
I know.
But sometimes I have to watch it because I got, some criticism. So I gotta
Yeah.
look
Oh, yeah.
back.
Well, we all can improve.
Yeah.
Always. Yes. It would be good to watch myself back a little bit more than I do.
Okay, so I want to talk about being a COO as well.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yes.
because you're a CLO, but also a COO. So that's like different roles. But before that, you also do like operating, right?
Yes.
Yeah, before that. So you already have like experience in
I did.
being the COO. But to do two jobs at the same times like that, are there any difficulties for you?
It's a great question. So, yes, it's my second time doing the combined COO legal role. And when I did that for Mr. Blair, it was a different situation. It was going from 25 people to 500 people.
Wow.
And it was going from 7 countries to about 30 countries all across the globe.
That's crazy.
Yeah, and actually sending teams on the ground into many developing nations. Some of them were in red zones from a conflict perspective. So that's a very different operational ask than Parity, which again scaled up quite a bit in the 2 years,
You
and
mean
also
for parity?
yeah, for Parity. But the operations are for a lot of digital nomads, right? We're not setting offices and people living with their families in different locations around the world. It's remote first. So
A whole different
different kettle
set.
of fish,
Yeah,
as they say.
I can see.
Yeah, so I think those operational requirements for Parity and in Web3 and in a remote first environment can actually be more complicated in some ways because you don't have that same in-person connection on a regular basis that you would in an office
But you already
environment.
got it from your back experience. I see.
Yeah. So
I understand.
it's but it's been a really fascinating area to be working in, and actually I was just invited just in the last couple weeks to work with Harvard and the UN on a social inclusion survey that they are doing to look at how people, one, feel going back to work after COVID, and two,
I see.
how maybe Web3, who has been remote first for quite some time, if there's a different approach and viewpoint in the Web3 community versus other communities who weren't as open to the remote first environment. So I think there's a lot of scholarly interest in this as well. So it's great to be a part of that.
You're doing that because you care about the
Yes.
people.
I do.
That's
Exactly.
amazing. Because what I want to do is to do something that actually have effects, like good effects on
Exactly.
people. Wow.
I'm the same. And you're exactly right because I do care about the people and want to try to
So you
shine
have
a
a
light.
question, right? You have a
Yeah.
question. How you guys do, right?
Yeah.
And then that's why you have the surveys and everything.
Exactly. And wanting to participate and offering our point of view because I think it's an important point of view and I want to make sure that it's heard.
That's meaningful for
Yeah.
you to doing so.
I hope so.
And it's crazy actually when I like in my point of view, you're doing the COO and CEO and the two mother of the two daughters. That's, how do you balance everything? I go to work and then that's the end of my day. I cannot imagine if I have like families and yeah.
Well, I think parents we do what we need to do in order to make the best life possible for our children. So, of course, they come first. And I'm very lucky. I have so many wonderful people around me supporting me to help me do it, because you can't do it on your own. It takes a village.
Definitely.
There's that saying, and it's absolutely 100% true. And I think as a parent, you can often feel guilty. Either you're not giving enough to your children, or you're not giving enough to work, or you're not giving enough to yourself. And I think it's never perfectly in balance. You have to be very kind to yourself and compassionate to yourself, and realize it's more like a seesaw. Like, sometimes your children require a little bit more from you, and sometimes your work requires a little bit more from you. Sometimes you just, need to
For
give
yourself.
yourself some grace so you can recover. So I think when I was coming up, because I'm a Gen Xer, there used to be this saying, oh, well, you can have it all as a woman. You can have it all as a woman. And I actually don't believe that. You can't have it all at once.
That's
Right?
just
It's-
a good picture. Right?
Yeah, it's like this. And
You can't have everything.
you can't have everything. It's unrealistic. And that's a lot of pressure to put on yourself. But if you say, right, it's a little bit like, like an equalizer, like a music equalizer
You
that you see,
accept
the
it.
volume. Yeah.
Yeah, you
And
accept the fact.
Yeah. It's dials. Sometimes you have to turn this one up a little bit, and sometimes you have to turn this one up a little bit. Yeah.
Makes sense. Makes sense.
And that's how I try to look at my life. I'm sure other people have better ways to look at it than I do, but that's what works for me, kind of that seesaw, or the dialing up, dialing down. That helps.
When I'm looking from the outsider, I'm an outsider. I hope that you have time for yourself as well. you're in a different country though.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And I do try to find that time where I can, where it's possible.
I see. So I think we've covered pretty much everything today.
Okay,
But
wonderful.
probably one last question. So, are there any upcoming plans at Parity that you want to share with us?
Yeah, I think Parity, we're really focusing on providing a technical roadmap for Polkadot to see us into 2026, and that will be coming very soon. And I think the community has been asking for this, and we're delivering. And I think we're being very honest with ourselves, looking at the data, comparing and contrasting ourselves against other people in the Web3 space to see how we are actually faring. And I think it's going to be much like the transparency report that came out in June on spending. I think this tech roadmap will shine a light on exactly what we're building from a technological perspective. And I think it will be something that, in addition to JAM, which of course is coming,
That's big.
it's
That's
huge,
big.
but it will answer a lot of questions, and I think provide a really exciting vision for the future.
I'm exciting. I'm excited to see.
Yeah,
We're
great.
all exciting actually. That's why we're all here.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. And thank you. Your excitement is contagious. So please do share it with all the rest of the decoded participants. I think
I'm
it's
like
great.
a little fan here. You're like the role model.
Oh,
Yeah,
thank
you're
you.
you're the superwoman, honestly, and you're actually opening my first guest. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
really? Well,
So
that's an honor. Thank you
I'm
for
I,
having me as your
I
first
had
guest.
a lot of nerves before the interview because
Yeah.
you're Chrissy. So
Stop.
yeah,
Oh, no.
trying to make her try to make her as nervous as me.
I know you're making me nervous because
But-
I'm just,
but yeah.
I think I'm,
But you make everything so natural, and then I feel comfortable talking with you. I can see why you're working with people. Yeah.
well, thank you. I think kindness and empathy and compassion and just, we're all working towards a common goal. And I think that, just being humans together, working on something really cool that's going to change the world is an amazing privilege to be a part of. So I'm happy to be doing it with you.
My honor. So
Thank you.
thank you so much for coming here. It's great, and I'll love to have another talk with you in the future.
Anytime. Anytime. Looking forward to it already.